Hey, I'm just over here setting up. If I can find me. Okay, so I'm live. As far as I can tell, I'm live. Check in volume. Hey, I'm just. Let's see here. Waiting for a few more people to get in. Okay, so shows that I'm live. I see there's 2 people here already. You guys, so anyways, as y'all can see, the gist of this live stream is adventures in sleep parasomnia. Sleep parasomnia is any group of sleep disorders characterized by regular occurrences of abnormal movements, vocalizations, or experiences, such as sleepwalking, talking in one's sleep, night terrors. Okay, there is also sleep paralysis, and many other experiences that people can have. Some parasomnias are more common than others, and since there are a variety of types, one study estimated that 4% of 67% of adults around the world experience parasomnia in their lifetime. So, I have written a book, and it's based on my own experiences. And for years, ever since I was about the age of 15, I have had sleep paralysis. I have had, and I won't call them out-of-body experiences, but I will say that they are something. I've had hypnagogic experiences. I have had a near-death experience twice, and that was because both of those times I was in a major accident. I did write a book called The Dream Escape, and I will read you a little bit of it. Okay, so we will go to the beginning. This book is dedicated to everybody who has experience with out-of-body, night terrors, sleep paralysis, hypnagogic hallucinations, near-death experience, and pre-birth experience, and lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences. To all of you, I salute you. I too know where you have been, although where you are going in your life, I have no clue. Your experiences are all unique in their own way. We all have our own path to travel and our own stories to tell. In these pages, I will share my experiences and thoughts as well as to what has worked for me and what science has to say. So that is the epilogue to my book. And this book is available on Amazon. It is 181 pages long. But in this book, I do go over, hey Richard, how are you doing? In this book, I go over gifts, sleepwalking, sleep paralysis and out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences, my near-death experience, night terrors, out-of-body experiences, the gift of discernment, the gift of foresight or vision, thoughts, what has and has not worked for me, and the postscript. So, anyways, you guys, for anybody who has sleep paralysis, you are not alone. Remember that. A lot of people have experiences when they fall asleep at night where they think they see a shadow man. There are people that believe that somebody's sitting on top of them. They believe that they are seeing something that should not be there. And these experiences can be very, very frightening. One of the things that I learned that worked for me was to stay calm, close my eyes, count to 10, and go back to sleep. Either that, or, as I learned another little thing, I could have an astral projection. So, I've taught myself not to be afraid. The first time that I ever experienced sleep paralysis was back when I was 17 years old, and I was sleeping at a friend's house and I was on their couch. And I think I had one before that, but I don't have any real memories. But this one, when I was 17, I awoke I was sleeping on my side. I could see the whole living room. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't talk. I couldn't yell for help. I could only move my eyes. But there was nothing else that I could do. I couldn't move my feet, couldn't move my legs. It was like my body was a weight. The only thing I could do was breathe, right? And I remember thinking it was very, very weird. And I thought maybe I had become paralyzed. Okay? That thought in my head was, oh my God, if I can't move now, I won't be able to move again. And it scared me. But I did what I should have done and I went back to sleep. I awoke the next morning and I told my friend, I said, I had a really weird experience last night. I said I was not able to move. I was not able to yell out for help. And they looked at me and said, oh, you had sleep paralysis. And he was like, welcome to my world. And I was like, what do you mean? Right? And I went through talking for a long time about it. And they told me, you should sleep with your Bible at night. Well, back then I wasn't a very Christian person. I was brought up in a biblical home. My grandfather was a bishop of South Carolina. And, but I still at that age, I wasn't very much into religion. But, I thought, hey, I'll give that a try, right? So, I got myself a Bible. Did it help? No. Did sleeping with it help? No. Has creating crosses and hanging them all throughout my room helped? No. But what has helped is staying calm, remaining calm, doing a lot of research and realizing that you're not the only one in this world who's alone with having a sleep problem. So I decided today to do this video for other people and in support of other people. I've noticed that there's not a lot of people that talk about it. And I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you what, I've done as much research as I can so that I can understand what has happened with me, what is going on with me. And research is a good thing, but I've also entered into another side of it where I think some of it is spiritual. I've in this book you'll read my what I've gone through. When I say that I've had an OBE, I will give you an example and let me read you a chapter. So I will read you a chapter of what I went through. Let me find a chapter here real quick. This one that's lucid dreaming. So let me see here. I want to find the chapter that I want to talk about. I'm going to do sleep paralysis so y'all can understand sleep paralysis. So, sleep paralysis, page 49. This started in my life when I was about 14. I had my first bout of sleep paralysis that I recalled. I was not scared. In fact, it was a normal event, and I could fly. Now, back then, I thought it was really cool. It was something that I did that I thought was cool. I would go from a lucid dream to OBE. I would be dreaming of something to realize it was a dream and then go into sleep paralysis, and then I would pop out of my body. I would be standing and feeling an energy within me that would well up until that energy propelled me to go up and out through the ceiling or out through the window. I can't describe this energy except that it came from deep within. And I could feel it welling until it felt like it would burst out of me. I would fly over the cities and anywhere I wanted to go. In those moments, some other entity was with me. I called it a friend, and I was never alone. During these flying times, we would look for people to help and rescue them. One time we saw a drowning man and pulled him from his car out of the river. I was injured. He was injured, as I recall, but I was told he would live. I was told he had an important life ahead of him. I look back on those times and wonder if it was an angel I was with. I also recall that I had taken to cracking my window at night, as I did not like the feeling of going through things. As an adult, I have flown, but not with anyone that I recall, but always on my own. When I was 15 years old, I had an experience while at the hospital. I was there to get my tonsils out. I cannot say this was a near-death experience, however, something happened. I think it was an OBE caused by paralysis from the drugs. We showed up early that morning to the hospital to get checked in. I had slept well that night before, and I was not too worried about this procedure. I was all checked in and taken to my room to wait for the doctors to come to bring me for my tonsillectomy. It was a nice hospital and the nurses were nice. My parents at the time was a foster mom. She and my grandmother were there and they were talking amongst themselves. Soon the technician came in and was like, "It's your turn." They wheeled me out and into a room where they hooked me up to a saline drip and then gave me my sleepy medicine. I do not recall counting to 10 as they advise you to do so backwards. I think I made it to 5. My next recollection, I was awake and then I was watching the doctor. He was busy looking down at my throat, and after a little bit he yelled to the nurse, "Her eyes, they are open, put her under more." For the few minutes that I was awake, I thought this was totally cool watching what they were doing to that body. When they said, "Give her more," I was like, uh-oh, time to go back. I woke up and I was in my room in the hospital. I recall asking the nurse if anything happened while I was under surgery, and that I recalled seeing what was going on in there. They were kind of amused but did not confirm that anything had happened. I later told the doctor and he said yes, I had opened my eyes, but that some people do so during surgery. Ever since then, with any surgery that I have had, I have been nervous about going through it and wondering and worried if I would wake up during it. I have never been afraid that I would die. I believe because I have sleep paralysis that even under medicine to sleep for me, it is a real possibility that I will awaken. I am curious as to what other people with sleep paralysis have. I am curious about other people with sleep paralysis if they have the same occurrence. When I was 17, I had just moved in with someone to share an apartment. I had been there a few months when it happened. I fell asleep on the couch. I awoke and it was dark. However, there was light coming in from outside. I could not move at all, not yell for help. I was not scared. I was perplexed and was not sure what to make of the predicament I was in, as I was not able to get out. I told myself to stay calm and not panic, as I realized I could not talk or yell out. I could move my eyes, but not any extremity. I could not see anything other than the room I had fallen asleep in, and no strange windows or entities, no angels, just the room, and I could not move anything or any part of me. I could open and shut my eyes, but that was all. I decided to shut my eyes and go back to sleep. Maybe when I woke I would be okay, or I would find out that I had become paralyzed. The next day I told my roommate what had occurred. They were calm and reassured me what I told them what had occurred before in my life. And had occurred now, and they suggested I sleep with a Bible and to ask Jesus to help me if it happened again. Though, at the age of 17, I did not yet have one and was not very close in my walk with God, other than a prayer here or there. I did get one, but I have found out that it does not work to have a Bible on my bed when I have this experience, nor does it stop it from occurring. For a long time, I did not have any more experiences like this that I recalled. In my 20s and 30s, I had sleep paralysis, but nothing to report home about. I would use these times to just pray and talk to God and go back to sleep. According to science, sometimes sleep paralysis happens and we do not recall it. Or we may even think we dreamed it. Note, if it is a dream, you will not have vivid memories of it. My next bout of sleep paralysis was when I was in my late 30s. Pretty much the same thing occurred, and I did not see the boogeyman. However, these bouts were closer and closer together, happening more frequently. When I was 46 years old, I had a shocking experience I have never forgotten. I had been busy as a moderator for a channel that I enjoyed spending time on, and I was used to staying up a bit late every night, usually until around 11 p.m. This night I was feeling a bit tired, so I told everyone good night. Took my bath and got into my PJs, and I went off to sleep earlier than I usually do, around 9:30 p.m. I awoke and I could not move or talk. However, I could see my pillow in front of me. It was a white pillow, and it bothered me that it was in front of me, though I am not sure why. I said a prayer in my head to God to help me, and I talked to him as I usually did. However, this time I tried to go back to sleep routine, and I was again awake, and try as much as I could not go back to sleep. I was not able to talk or move any part of me. I recall thinking in complete frustration, okay, I want to get out of here. I have to get out of here. I am out of here. The feeling was so urgent, I wanted so badly to leave that I could see myself getting off the bed. But as I turned and looked at my body, everything after getting off the bed, I was back in my body instantly. Looking at my pillow in front of me again, I tried again and the same results. There was my pillow in front of me, and the next minute I felt I slid to the end of my bed, and then I slid under the end of my bed. And I was stuck there thinking, boy, this is weird seeing the underside of my bed. And I thought, I need to clean under here tomorrow. It's a mess. I was feeling like I was weightless and hovering, even under my bed. And then I was sucked back into myself. This was a bit interesting as I tried to rationalize what was happening, as this has never happened to me before in any of my other sleep paralysis events. Then I recall I made a decision that I wanted to try again and leave, and this time I felt like I was being sucked into a vacuum and then into space and near darkness. So that is part of this chapter. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I wanted to tell you guys that was a hypnagogic hallucination. So that is something that does happen during parasomnia. A lot of people that experience parasomnia may have hallucinations along with it, and that is because they lack air or oxygen. So when you're talking about out-of-body experiences, those people that are near death, they also are lacking oxygen and air. Does not mean that they are not out of body, because here's the thing. You would not know what's going on around the room if you were in a bed and had passed out, okay? And that's partially what happens when you're going through parasomnias. My out-of-body experiences were traumatizing. I had one when I had a major car accident in 1999. I was rushed to the hospital after being hit by a semi-truck as a passenger. And my memories of that time were feeling like I was in a black hole, looking up at a bright light and reasoning with God about why I wanted to stay on Earth and why I didn't want to stay on Earth, and making a deal. I didn't go anywhere away from the planet, but I do recall that I told God that if I was going to be damaged for the rest of my life, that I didn't want to be here anymore. And it was kind of a miraculous event because the car was destroyed. The car that I had been riding in as a passenger was destroyed. The girl that was in the car with me ended up walking around on the freeway, not realizing how she got out of the car. I ended up in the passenger seat, and the whole side of the car that I had been riding on was destroyed. So when I look back on that event, I can only say that it was a spiritual event for me. And it has made my walk with God much closer. I look at all the things that have happened, the sleep paralysis, and all of it. And if I say to you, I believe there is a heaven when we die. I believe there is a heaven when we die. I believe there is somewhere we go when we die. And I am not afraid of death any longer. When I was little, I may have been, but not now. I do know that it has made me a lot closer in my religion and in my prayers. I am not one that goes to church. I do go to different sites online that have church on Sundays, but I am not any, I am a, how you put it? I am a non-denominational Christian, but I am born again. And I put all of my faith into God and into things that happen that we may not always agree on, okay? I don't believe in all paranormal things. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in the boogeyman. I may or may not believe in aliens, okay? Considering that they were in the Bible, I believe that they might exist, especially if you read the book of Enoch, okay? I am not one to believe that we are the only people that inhibit this planet or inhibit all of the stars in the Milky Way and in the whole galaxy. I don't believe that we're that special. I believe that God can do anything that he wants to do, and he can use anybody that he wants to make sure that it happens. So anyways, that's my take on things. I just want to be here to support other people who may go through having hypnagogic experiences, who may be having parasomnias. I am a YouTuber, but I want to share what I've been through with other people and tell you, I see you. You're not alone. I think it's time that people start talking about these things and start looking for the reasons that they happen. And by doing research and by helping each other, we can nail down exactly why these things are occurring. But we can't do it if we don't talk about it. And that is one of the reasons why I wrote the book that I wrote, The Dream Escape. Because I wanted to share my experiences with other people. It's something that has been going on with me since I was 14 years old. My main experience with sleep paralysis started when I was 17. And I have had plenty of sleep paralysis episodes that have happened since then, to include lucid dreaming. I have had near-death experience, night terrors. Okay? I believe that some things are gifts and some things are not. The Bible states that God gave gifts. Okay? So if we think about it, who are we to say that he doesn't any longer? There are people that don't believe that gifts are given anymore. I am one of those people that believes that they are. And I back it up in my book by reference of the Bible. I'm going to say it here. I believe we come to the world with gifts, natural gifts. I believe there is a difference between spiritual gifts and our natural talents that are singing, drawing, writing, and so forth. The ones I refer to are the ones given spiritually. It is up to us to learn to use these gifts and to use them for the good of others. A child believes in all possibilities, but as we get older and mature, we start to tell ourselves things we dream of doing are not possible, or that we want to do can't happen, or things we are doing are not real because grown-ups tell us so. The fact is, as we grow, we should broaden our thoughts and minds to accomplish goals we set for ourselves and nurture ourselves and others. We should nurture children and foster any mention that they allude to that may be gifts and help strengthen them. In the Bible, it speaks of these gifts. Romans 12:6-8, and Corinthians 12:4-11, Peter 4:10-11, Ephesians 4:7-12, James 1:17, Proverbs 18:16. So why would we believe otherwise? Has man forgotten these gifts and what we are to do with them? Have we forgotten to pray and ask for clarity, to have our gifts revealed to us, and to ask how we are to use them to serve others? I learned when I was young that I had a gift of foresight and discernment. I could sense something was going to happen, however, I did not always believe in myself or what I saw or dreamed would happen, which at times cost me when those things came to pass. I have also used the gift without realizing it by telling someone, "Don't speed in your car today," or you will get a ticket, and later being told, "I got pulled over. I should have listened to you." My answer, yes, you should have. I had a bad accident in 1999 which involved a semi-truck. I was with a good friend when we were hit and smacked into a guardrail and then run over by another semi-truck. I had been having, as I would say, daydreams or visions of this occurring for a week before it occurred. I, however, did not take myself seriously. I blew it off with the thought of every time I am on that freeway, I am a bit nervous. After this happened, I realized I had been seeing it before it happened. Could I have prevented that from happening to me? I believe so. I believe I was warned. Yes, I believe each of us has an innate gift that is to help others and not just ourselves. Whether it be the gift of foresight, the gift of seeing, the gift of healing, the gift of prophesying and leading. The gifts are endless, and the only person who knows you have the gift is you, and maybe others who know you. Perhaps there are some people who do not think they have a gift. I would tell them to pray and to ask guidance and to ask God how He wants you to use your gift to be a service to others. Make time for intentional prayer and understanding. I don't believe it is ever too late to discover your gifts and to put them to use. I believe that each person has one, and it is up to us to figure out what it is and how it works and how best to use it for the good of ourselves and for others. For what is a gift if it is squandered and not used to serve the betterment of others? There is a question of whether spiritual gifts from God continue today, and it is a source of debate within Christianity, some believing they stopped with the apostles, and others believing they continued after the apostles. The argument is that certain spiritual gifts, particularly those related to prophecy, tongues, knowledge, and miracles, ceased with the death of the last apostles and completion of the New Testament. They justify this by stating that these gifts were necessary to establish the foundation of the church and to provide a complete revelation of God's will, which is found in the Bible. Those who believe that it continues state that Christians believe they have spiritual gifts, including miracles, healing, prophecy, and it continues to be active in the church today. The argument is that the Bible outlines many spiritual gifts given by the Holy Spirit to believers for the common good, and that these gifts are for all believers in church history. 1 Corinthians 12:7-1 states various gifts given by the Holy Spirit to believers for common good. But the manifest of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. 8. For to who is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another word of knowledge by the Spirit. 9. To another faith by the same Spirit, to the gifts of healing by the same Spirit. 10. To another of the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues. 11. But all that worketh that one of the sameless Spirit, dividing to every man severely as he will. There is no universal agreement or accepted answer within Christianity, and usually the debate is revolving around the nature and purpose of the gifts rather than whether God still lives within believers. It is interesting to note that different passages in the Bible lead to a person to different conclusions about the continuation and the cessation of spiritual gifts. I would also point to Joel 2:28. I will pour out my Spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. Even on my menservants and maidservants I will pour out my Spirit in those days. Having lived 55 years of my life and having had foresight, seeing, and discernment, as well as other spiritual things happen in and to my life, I would state I have been blessed by God. I know these to be gifts, and in reading them, there is an argument against of such. I would want to throw up my hands and state, but I can do it, and so can others. Why is there a debate? Look at the people proving that it does happen, and quit arguing about it and go to God in prayer. There are many people all over the world who are all real and offer tangible proof of the gifts that have been bestowed. God is real, and He is not limited by mankind's thoughts, feelings, and arguments, and can and does give us gifts to help others. It is time that people seek in prayer and ask what their gifts are, or if they have them, learn to use them and put to use for the good of other people. 1 Peter 4:10. As every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifest grace of God. 1 Corinthians 1:12-11, New King James Version. But one and the same Spirit works all these things, distributing to each one individually all He wills. This tells me that God gives mankind gifts. It does not say when they shall be used. I believe God calls people to use their gifts and talents and influences to serve others. I intend to share where and when I can until I can no more. And that was my chapter that I wrote. Let me go back. That was my chapter that I wrote called The Gifts. And that's chapter 3. So I have read y'all some of my chapters so far of the book that I have posted on Amazon. If anybody would like to read it. The back of the book states, all my life I have dealt with sleep paralysis and many other sleep parasomnias. This book is for anyone who has dealt with any nighttime experiences and like me has been searching for answers. I have been looking into the spiritual and religious side of what I have been going through. I finally decided to share everything to others and hopefully it will provide you some answers. I also tell you what I have learned works and does not work for me. I hope if you need relief, you find it. So, anyways, you guys, this has just been a quick live stream to talk about my adventures with Parasomnia. I don't want to go too much into everything because it is written in the book and it's up to each person to read the book. I because of this, I'll tell you, I have gone through saw a psychiatrist because I thought, man, there's something wrong with me. I have found out that I am not the only person in the world who suffers from these things. So therefore, I no longer feel horrible. However, I do suffer something which can make it worse, and that is PTSD. I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and that happened after the accident in 1999. As many of y'all know, I still have a fear of driving, even though I drive when I have to. I don't like to drive. I don't like to be on the freeway anymore. That is just something that I've had to deal with and have dealt with and been dealing with, even though I had another car accident where somebody drove through the rear end of my car almost 2 years ago. And that was a very scary event for me, but I did write about it in my book because there was something that happened during that. During that event, I was in my seat. My daughter said that truck is moving way too fast behind us. At that time, I looked up in my rear view mirror. They drove through the back of my car. I don't know what happened in that space, but I remember looking at my daughter. And I remember seeing her contorting in her seat. And it was like I was no longer in me. I was watching her. And it's a very, very strange thing. And then finally, the car, I got it to stop because the whole seat that I was sitting in was destroyed. It was like, how you say, the front end of the seat was flipped up. So I could barely reach the brakes or anything. And I was a hurting biscuit. It did mess up my neck. I already have problems with my spine. I have stenosis in my lower back, but I have a bone spur in my neck. And so when the doctors were talking to me, they were like, yes, your neck is much worse than it was. However, they have given me this cute piece of equipment that I have, which I use now, which is actually making a whole world of difference. It helps me to stretch my neck. So I really enjoy using that when I need to. So anyways, you guys, that's my live stream. I just thought I would share my experience with you guys. This book is available on Amazon. I'll show it to you. And if you would like this book, let me see here. I'll give y'all a link to my author page. This is my author page. Let me see. Let me go to all books. Okay. I don't know how to share it, but I'm going to try. Okay. All books. This is the link. That's the link to the all books. And you can see I've written the Quick Preparedness Guide, The Dream Escape. This is my book of art and graphic art. And then I've done 2 journals. Both of these journals are about 250 pages long, but there is a diary which is that I did, let me see here, is 300 pages long. It is available on Amazon. Let me go to this one. It's available on Amazon. I'll give y'all a link to that one too. So, oops. This is the diary. I used my own art for it. I used my own art for this. It is 301 pages long. It's actually 300 pages long. But the diary itself is all blank pages, lined blank pages that you can take with you, write down your own experiences and stuff wherever you want to. You can use it for whatever you want to, but diaries are always good to have. Journals are always good to have. And I was going to say, if you have sleep paralysis at night, one of the things that you should do, and you don't have to, but I do, is sit down, get a diary, get a journal or something, sit down and start writing out your experience, okay? Write out what happens during your sleep paralysis or during your lucid dreaming. Write down these things. One of the things I found that I can do that I think is kind of special is I can tell when I am in a dream. And if it's a dream that I don't like and I don't like how it's going, then I'll get in there and I'll change that dream to be what I want. Okay? So let's say I'm going swimming in my dream and I'm like, I don't want to be swimming. I want to be in a boat. In my dream, I take control of my dream. That is what lucid dreaming is. But if you decide that you want to have a more lucid dream, then you create yourself a window or a door or focus on something, and you tell yourself to go through it. If in your dream you decide you want to lucid dream and you want to go up, tell yourself, I want to go up, okay? You'll find yourself floating. It's kind of cool. It's a little freaky at the beginning. But it is fun if you can manage to figure out when you are actually dreaming. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to leave this video here. Thought I would share a little bit of my experience. I love you guys. Not all of my videos and live streams are going to be about things like this. But I thought it would be interesting to start talking to people about sleep paralysis, sleep parasomnias. See what other people's experiences are. Richard Smith says, I used to use lucid dreaming to get revenge on people that bullied me. No, never use things like this for bad purposes. That is one thing I will tell you. Don't use them for bad purposes. Anyways, you guys, I'm going to let y'all go. I love you. And I will talk to you all on the next video. I hope y'all are having a great day. Remember, tell somebody you love them. Tomorrow's never promised. And make each day the best that you can. Much love.